We go through the first portion of basic text as outlined by the first 100 men and women. And we're going to start the night off with the set-aside prayer. Dear God, please set aside everything I think I know about this book, about myself, my illness, these steps, and especially about you, dear God, so that I might have an open mind and a new experience with all these things. Please help me to see the truth. Thanks.
Right on. Recovered alcoholic. My name's Tony.
Can you unmute, please?
Oh, geez, here we go again. Recovered alcoholic. My name's Tony. Sobriety Day saved late 1989. Thanks for having us in your homes and joining us in this course of action laid out by the first 100 men and women. Tonight, we're glad we did the set-aside prayer because we're looking at steps 6 and 7 in the book. And the hard part is reading what the book says it is, right? Most people is really interesting. They say they don't understand 6 and 7, but when they read it, they interpret it totally different than what the book says, right? So tonight, it would be good to have a highlighter. Forget everything you know about what you've been taught about 6 and 7 and other people's ideas about 6 and 7. And if you read books like Drop the Rock and all that stuff around 6 and 7 and the 12, even the 12 and 12, forget all that other influences. And we'll just stick with the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, right? Because a lot of people will read the 12 and 12. That's somebody else's interpretation, one singular person's interpretation of something 13 years after the fact when they wrote this together, and is more of a behavioral modification approach than a spiritual approach. Remember when we talked about this thing, I just gotta let the dog go, that we talked about there are two approaches to this thing. Once you hit the third step and the fourth step, one group of people will go through the behavioral modification course. That's what they think it is, about addressing your behaviors and working on yourself. And then the other group of people, because they understand step 2, will realize the whole course of action is about getting connected to a power greater than ourselves. That creates the change. So when you're in meetings, you hear two groups of people. One group of people who give credit to this grace and access to the power that creates change, and another group of people who take the credit for the change. Yeah, I'm working on myself. I've been doing this. I've been doing that. I'm working on this defect. I'm working on... Anybody hear that terminology in meetings? How they're working on these steps every day, working on these steps. Well, that's... The book isn't designed that way, right? So we're going to look at this stuff. Really keep an open mind. Have a piece of paper and a pen beside you. And really, a lot of people are going to start arguing with what they think it says, what they've been taught it says, and actually what it says. If you look at what it says, when I went through this and I seen it, I kind of went, wow, isn't this interesting? And in order to really understand what 6 and 7 is about, you have to understand what the process is about and the language that it's been kind of incorporating as we went along, right? So if you kind of look at the theme to where it's leading us, it's like, it's not a surprise. It's like, oh, we've been going this way all of a sudden. Oh, welcome. We're going to put you in a totally different direction. What they're saying is there's a theme here. So when we kind of look at this theme, we just finished the 5th step on page 75. It reiterated what this whole thing was about, is about having a new relationship with this power. We may have had certain spiritual beliefs, but now we begin to have a spiritual experience. And well, that's the whole purpose of this course of action, because we agreed, right, that lack of power was our dilemma. Did we not agree to that?
No, we agreed, yeah.
Yeah, and so we realized page 44, 45 talked about the qualifier, whether I need to go on with the rest of this stuff, right? Because if I didn't need a psychic change or spiritual experience, would I need to get access to a power greater than myself to create this psychic change?
No, you'd be able to stay sober on your own power.
So there are those people who stay sober under any and all condition. Meeting makers make it. No matter what, don't pick up. Those group of people. I'm not one of those group of people. So by the time you get to we agnostics, you'll understand what type of alcoholic you are, because the purpose of the book up to that point in time was to describe the problem and to describe the solution and the course of action they did, and to prepare us whether we need to go through with that or not. Does that kind of make sense? right?
100%.
And so we see that the whole purpose of the book up to that point in time, including the doctor's opinion, the forwards, the preface, and the spiritual appendix in the back of the book, was to teach us about two aspects. One, about the disease concept of alcoholism. True or false? Talked about in the preceding chapters, you have learned something of alcoholism. We hope we have made it clear the distinction between the alcoholic and non-alcoholic. So by the time you get there, and even when you're using the worksheets, you'll concede to your innermost self that you have this illness, and it'll leave you in a state of seeking the solution. Right? Those who really understand step one will seek a solution. Those who really don't understand step one take their time looking for a solution because they still think they're the solution. And usually it takes a couple relapses to get your attention again. Any relapsers here? Right? How many people came in with the idea of hoping that they were going to get sober for a while and then really ruin their life?
Might as well just keep your hands up. That's what I'm
doing. So it was like, boy, I can't wait to ruin my life again. People thought it was funny the last time I relapsed. Watch this time. Right? Anybody's relapse getting better here?
Nope.
So we see that we convince ourselves of the need of this solution because we could no longer be our own solution. We tried to be our own solution. Nobody in this fine crowd, right? Anybody in this fine crowd try to be their own solution? Just don't pick up, think it through, call a friend, poll the audience. I think there was a game show like that, wasn't there? You get two guesses, right? So we seen we needed this change. So then we found out where we get access to this power. Where do we get access to this power that creates the psychic change or spiritual experience that we need to formulate a relationship with that becomes personal to us? So we hear of other people's experience. That's what the book is about, right? Other people's experience and all those that went before us that incorporate this within their lives. Yes or no? Yep. So we hear their experience. And a lot of us talk about their experience at other meetings thinking it's our experience. What we need is our own experience with this source or power. Correct? Yes, no?
Yes.
So where and how were we to find this connection that they're talking about?
That's exactly what this book is about.
So all I need to do is be willing to do what they did to get what they got. Correct? So that's all I need to do is follow the same path and the same instruction they did to get what they got. So, but where am I to find this power that creates this change?
Deep down within, baby.
Yeah, so how many people got told, that's on page 55, right? How many people got told here to come up with your own idea, God?
Yeah.
Just go right in step two. Write your own idea what you'd like God to be. And it's usually a Santa Claus list, isn't it, by the time we're done?
Yeah.
God to be like Santa Claus. And gimme, right? Well, isn't it? Right? Because if we're going to create something, I want a sugar daddy, right? But it's called sugar God. Right? I want God to be, all this in a bag of chips, right? But when we see what this is really about is to get access to a power and to be willing to believe that this power is deep down within. How many people would have came up with that idea here?
No.
That get access to this power was deep down within. So we see it's their idea based on their experience and it's collective. In the spiritual appendix, remember it says all our members, not some of our members, all our members, with few exceptions, have tapped into what? An inner resource of strength. On page 55, it talked about in each man, woman, and child is what?
Fundamental idea of God.
So they describe what that is. And then they talked about we have a belief system. We're motivated by certain things. What we need is recreate how we view and what we're motivated by. We need to reallocate our energy along different lines. Right, our belief system and our worship system, we need to change it because when they explain that on page 54, we seen that we are worshipers. That we kind of anybody here, when you think worship, what does that mean? Spend a lot of thought and idea and energy on things. Anybody spend a lot of thought, energy, and idea on things? that create the illusion of change. If I had this, if I had spent a lot of time in fantasy land, how many people here? And daydream. That's a form of worship. You're spending your energy thinking that as soon as I have, as soon as I obtain, as soon as I get, my life will be better. So my life will be better based on circumstances. Most of us don't go, as soon as I change, as soon as I get connected, as soon as I get spiritually well, I'll change. No, most of us say, as soon as I get the car, as soon as she comes back, as soon as she leaves. As long as she doesn't find out about her and her doesn't find out about her, we're going to be happy. And the boss doesn't find out about the money I've been getting because I deserve more money than he gives me. Anybody have that kind of life before they did the steps? Or am I alone on that? Spend a lot of time with the checklist, right? So, as we get ready to do this, on page 63, we see that actually the third step prayer is an idea, the possibility of achieving something through a course of action. Because if I was able to achieve what they talked about on page 63, would I need to do the rest of the steps?
No.
So, but how many people have been given the impression that once you do step 3, all this remarkable things happen? I do step 3 every day.
Or the impression. Yeah, I was just going to say that one.
Yeah, people say I do steps 1, 2, and 3 every day. So that's a nice way of saying you do nothing. Right? Well, because step 1's the problem. Knowing it, does it change anything? Ignoring it, does it change anything? Either way, you're going to get loaded. Whether you accept it or don't accept it, it doesn't change anything. Step 2 says this is the change, right? Knowing that this is the solution, does it change anything? No, but now you know there's a solution. Step 3, when you make a decision that I want this change, does it change anything? So how many people have been through Bill's story here? How many people have been through Bill's story? So when he sat at the kitchen table drinking and he did steps 1, 2, and 3, what changed? He had a shift.
Nothing.
But he had a shift inside momentarily where his ideas of miracles were revised. It created a feeling of hope and euphoria. I call it evangelical recovery. You've done really nothing, but you're feeling great about it.
Yeah.
You've created this, wow. It's like being out in a boat for 3 or 4 days and you know your end is coming soon. What would you be looking for? You'd be looking for some land or some craft or something to save you, wouldn't you?
Yep.
And the longer you're in that boat, the worse things and your situation would be. That's step 1. So step 2 is you're looking for a solution. Step 3 is you see the boat. You see a ship. How excited would you be seeing that ship? Or the boat? Or the plane? You'd be pretty excited. You'd be, yay, to your other alcoholic friend, and you'd be all excited. And a normal person would say, I don't think they know we're here. Right? That means you're not in the boat yet, but you feel a really good idea about seeing the boat. That's step 3. You're still dying of alcoholism, but you feel better about it. A little wacky, ain't we? Remember the doctor talked about little maladjusted, full flight from reality and downright mental defectives. This is the area that I think they're kind of referring to, but that's my own thing. So we make a decision to do this thing. So now you go through the 4th. What was the purpose of the 4th? Well, it's a couple things. One is to remove the blocks. Is it not that separates me from this power? Yes or no?
Yep.
Right? So we had to get down to cause and conditions, right? Even though step 3 is a vital and crucial step, it could have little permanent effect unless that once, followed by strenuous effort to face and be rid of the things that have been blocking us. Wow. So by the time we go through this process, we learn their recipe to incorporate within our lives to start getting us our experience with this power. It starts creating shift within inside of us where we go, whoa, there's something to this thing, right? It starts becoming personal if I do it the way they instructed me to do it, not some other person's way, the way they did. On page 71 is confirmation of that. We hope. Somebody want to hit me up with that? Everybody on page 71? It's the conclusion of the hope of the whole process here. So we learned certain ideas that we'll get into in a second here. So this is the conclusion of step 4 and the purpose of it.
Covered alcoholic, my name's Adam. We hope you're convinced now that God can remove whatever self-will has blocked you off from him.
So you're convinced now. Before it was an idea. Step 3 was an idea. Right? Now you're having the experience of being able to create a shift within inside of you. Pretty remarkable stuff, right? Reallocating your energy toward working toward your betterment instead of your demise. Learning how to master resentment, outgrow fear, and bring in your conduct into alignment where it doesn't cause you guilt, shame, and remorse and other people harm. It's pretty cool, right? How many people, when you went through, it's pretty cool stuff that you're learning the mechanics of this thing that we did through the worksheets, right? You get to see it, and you kind of see this mechanical way of looking at it through a spiritual approach. It's really remarkable. It's really creates that shift. So we hope you are convinced now that God can remove whatever self-will has been blocking you off from him. So what was our problem was the blocks. Now we have the recipe to remove the blocks. That's pretty wild, right? Isn't it?
Yeah.
And a lot of people who've done the 4, and you ask, oh, you done your 4? They said, yeah, well, how did you like the prayers? What prayers? Or how did you like the mechanics of it? What mechanics? How did you like the incorporation of these ideas to create a shift? What shift? How did you like the prayer and meditation? What prayer and meditation? Oh, so you haven't done a 4th? Yes, I have. Okay. No, you haven't. Okay, go ahead.
If you have already made a decision and an inventory of your grosser handicaps,
okay, hold it.
Made a good beginning.
An inventory of your grosser handicaps. So, what people start thinking is, because they don't understand, so they take a treatment process and they go, oh, my selfishness, inconsideration, dishonesty. That's not your grosser handicaps. That's what most people think, right? I'm going to work on my selfishness, That's not the problem. It's the root of it, but it's not the problem. We're all selfish, inconsiderate, and dishonest at different degrees. And we see that our 4th step is a result of our non-connection to source. That it's an instinct-based life that creates all those problems. How many people have seen that? So we see the difference now. This is obviously not a spiritual-based life that's created all these problems. Secondly, God didn't do these things to me. I did it to myself based on self.
Oh, yeah.
That part sucked, but it was really freeing to see now the tacks in my shoes that made me walk uncomfortably. Right? Anybody ever walk with a marble in their shoe or a stone?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What we do is we don't want to waste time, so we try to get the stone between our toes and walk with it.
Yeah.
Anybody instead, normal people stop and take the stone out of the shoe. No, we're in a hurry to get somewhere. We don't know where it is, but if I could just get that stone where I'm not stepping on it all the time, I keep banging my shoe or anybody the toe or the heel. Anyway, it's crazy, but that's how we go through life. Anyway, so we're going to go over that we find out what this whole process is about in the first paragraph of page 72. You'll see where I'm going with this in a second. It's leading up, and then we're going to go back. It's really interesting. This is going to be recorded so you can follow it later. It's a lot of new information, but it'll tie it together in such a way that first you'll argue with it within yourself, and then you'll have to revisit it a couple times to see what the book's talking about. Because most people will defend their idea and not see what it says. Nobody like that in this crowd, right? We look for people that agree with us, not challenge our thinking.
That's right.
What we do here is we challenge our thinking, and a lot of it goes against the grain of what we've been taught for years. So now when we look at the book, the hard part is opening and just seeing what it says instead of what your brain is saying it says. Anybody ever work on the worksheets here? You notice how many people look for the answer they thought it said. I've been over this page 3 bloody times. I can't find my answer. Because it's not there. That's where the fun is. But then when you just start writing what the book says, you notice there's a flow to those sheets. And it's really interesting how many people said they've done the steps, and then you say, good, these sheets shouldn't be a problem with you. You should be able to go through it, no problem. Everybody who's done the process can go through those sheets without even looking at the book anymore. It's just basic, common language. Does that kind of make sense? Okay, so first paragraph. What's this whole purpose about? Again, they're reiterating what this is. They keep reminding us because they know we want to take over. Let me in, coach. They know we want to take over. They're saying, no, it's not about you. What is it about? It's going to remind us what this whole thing is about. What is it about?
Having made our personal inventory, what shall we do about it? We have been trying to get a new attitude, a new relationship with our Creator.
What are we trying to get?
A new relationship with our Creator.
Why do we need a new relationship?
Because the old one didn't work.
Yeah. Right? Anybody surprised with that? So we need to get a new relationship. So that one you're written out, not going to work. Okay. So we finished the fifth step, page 75. It reiterates again what this is about. So let's start there. We pocket our pride, page 75. And this will lead into where we're going. Okay, you see the theme here? So what is this about? Let's all get on the same page here. What is this process is about? Is it to find self-discovery, or is it to get access to a power that's greater than ourselves?
To get access to a power that's greater than ourselves.
Are we agreed with that or disagree? How many people agree with that? And where is this power located? Outside of ourselves or inside of ourselves?
Deep down within.
Deep down within. Does it have to become personal to me if I'm going to survive me?
Yes.
So we see that their experience is not enough to save me from myself. And nobody else's experience is enough to save me from it. I need my own experience with this. We agreed?
Agreed.
So that's what this is. So the purpose of the fourth step was to bring about the idea of step 3, that I could have this relationship that is possible that these other people have experienced. The top of 63 talks about their experience having gone through this course of action. And then it says we are now at step 3. Now they're going to show us how we can experience the same thing they have experienced by going through the same process they did. Agreed or disagree?
Agreed.
Agree.
Awesome. And we're just sticking with the book now. Are we just going to stick with the book?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see what it says then.
We pocket our pride and go to it, illuminating every twist of character, every dark cranny of the past. Once we have taken this step, withholding nothing, we are delighted. We can look the world in the eye. We can be alone at perfect peace and ease. Our fears fall from us. We begin to feel the nearness of our Creator. We may have had certain spiritual beliefs, but now we begin to have a spiritual experience.
Now we begin. So if you've done it this way, will you be experiencing what they're experiencing?
Yes.
But if you didn't do it this way, would you be experiencing what they're experiencing?
Probably not. No.
So it tells you kind of right off the bat. If somebody shows me some pictures of this location, it's absolutely like Bridal Falls. It's absolutely stunning. Some of the pictures I've seen. And I said, well, wow, how do you get there? They said, this is how you get there from your location. You take this road, and everybody needs to take the same way to get there. There's only one way to get there. And if I follow those instructions, will I be able to enjoy the picture, enjoy personally what I've seen in the picture? Would I enjoy the same experience that person who took the picture?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's what they're saying here. They've given us a picture when they started the beginning through this book. They gave us a certain picture. Did they not? That they experienced. What am I missing?
Yeah, they gave us a good idea, yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
The feeling that the drink problem has disappeared will often come strongly. We feel we are on the broad highway, walking hand in hand with the spirit of the universe.
So which is really cool is this talks about a different experience now. We not only in the fellowship of alcoholics, but now we're in the fellowship of the spirit. Where else do they talk about that? On page 164. You can join us in the fellowship of the spirit. You'll surely meet some of us as we trudge the road of happy destiny, not to happy destiny. We're connected now in a different way. It's pretty remarkable, right? You ever look at somebody and you just know something inside tells you? You look in their eyes and you just see them differently than you did before you did the steps?
Yep.
Yeah.
You ever wonder, and you look at somebody and something just tells you everything that's going, and they go, how did you know? You ever walk by somebody and you look in their eyes, something says, stop, talk to them. And maybe you've never talked to them before, but all of a sudden you just lock right in on them. The God consciousness in you is being called by the Spirit in them. It's pretty, we become his agents. We're now as true. So God kind of, when I'll get into that later. I get carried away with that. It's pretty remarkable stuff, man. When you see God's fingerprints all over the place, right? Okay, go ahead.
Returning home, we find a place where we can be quiet for an hour, carefully reviewing what we have done. We thank God from the bottom of our heart that we know him better. Taking this book down from our shelf, we turn to the page which contains the 12 steps. Carefully reading the first 5 proposals, we ask if we have omitted anything, for we are building an arch through which we shall walk a free man at last.
So not only are we building an arch, we're building a spiritual structure, as they talked about in We Agnostics. Right? Before this spiritual structure, what we had was an instinct-based, fear-based structure. Gathering, conquering, fear-based, anxiety-based. Right? Gathering, conquering. We're always in conflict with somebody or something because we're living out of our instincts. We had a fear-based aura around us. Always on high alert. Always kind of at the ready. Always kind of anticipating. Anybody? That's an instinct-based fight-or-flight way of living. Now we have we have the pause. We have that part where we can sit quietly and match calamity with serenity. We're having a different experience within inside of ourselves. The voices and the calamity, the noise within our brain and our being is shifted. We get the it's pretty cool stuff. What we used to try to find and all that stuff we use in drugs, people, places, now we found deep down within that we could get access 24/7, 365. We have the recipe to build the arch which we pass to freedom. A different aspect from an instinct-based Neanderthal to a spiritual-based experience. And this shift is within inside of us that they talked about on page 62 was an idea of building an arch. Now we've built this arch. How did this arch get built? Through the process that they taught us. So the more I understand the process, the more I get access to the spiritual realm. I know where the door is now to walk into moving from the instinct-based Neanderthal to a spiritual-based being. I know the difference between the two. Beforehand, I didn't know that. People would explain it and I didn't get what they were saying because it's something you need to experience. Once you experience it, no further explanation is necessary. Anybody ever notice that? It's like, this is what you were talking about? Well, why didn't you tell me? And we go, oh my God, really? we tell you at every meeting when we read how it works. We tell you we tell you there's a remarkable experience available here. Well, you guys kind of undersold it. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Is our work solid so far? Are the stones properly in place?
And Joe's going to do the stonework on Sunday. He does an excellent job of going through all that stuff. It's pretty this book, I've been studying it 31 years. There's a theme. It's like the Da Vinci's Code to this thing. Not everybody sees it, but when you see it, you kind of go, whoa. It gives you access to the spiritual realm. It's really freaky stuff, man. But you need to experience where it's really, really like that stuff that happened for Bill, where he was dying of alcoholism the second time in treatment. And he reached out to something, what he wouldn't do to change. And then Ebby shows up with a solution to his life. Remember, Bill didn't call Ebby, right? Ebby called Bill. Anybody have somebody show up in your life at a freaky time, something inches and moments that create a change or shift, something that anybody ever think about somebody and then they call you?
Yep.
We have a direct line to everything. And the only limitation to that is us. Right? And when you start seeing that there's it's really exciting stuff. But I don't want to, go ahead. Stay focused, Tony. Squirrel. Go ahead. This is awesome. Well, what do you think? I've been doing it 31 years because the more I do this, the more I get access, and the more I see this really remarkable life. And then you start seeing it in other people's lives, and it reconfirms that you're on the right track. Because if you're passing on something and nobody's getting it, then you need to relook at how you're doing this thing. Like, out of 10 people, about 1 out of every 10 people will get on fire with this thing. How many people has noticed that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that goes back to what they were talking about with the statistics. Of those who came to AA, of alcoholics who came to AA and really tried, and really, not everybody who came to AA, of alcoholics who came to AA and really tried what? This course of action. 50% got sober at once, remained that way. Some relapsed, came back, reapplied this thing, and remained sober till the time they died. And then others showed improvement. That means all we did was prolong their life and ended up dying an alcoholic life. But they got another 15 or 20 years. Pretty wild stuff. So, okay, go ahead. So this experience is happening. Yep.
Have we skipped on the cement put into the foundation? Have we tried to make mortar without sand?
Oh.
If we can answer,
yep.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
If we can answer to our satisfaction, we then look at step 6.
Okay. What does it say? Look at.
Yep.
Did it say work on?
No.
Look at circle that word. We look at it. What are we looking at? It's going to tell us what we're looking at. 6 and 7 is 2 different steps. They're not the same step. It's a transition. We're getting ready to move from one location to another location. We're making a shift. We're moving. And we have everything in the truck. Right? We have all our new stuff and we have some other stuff. And what does it say that we're carrying with us? Let's see. Read this like you're reading it for the first time. Go ahead, Adam.
We have emphasized willingness as being indispensable.
So that's the key, right? Willingness, is it not?
Yep.
Yes, no? That's the key to this whole thing, willingness. Not so much understanding, but you need some understanding. Not so much working on yourself, but you need to do some work. But the willingness to do what? Pursue a spiritual solution. That's the key to this whole thing. Did it say you need to understand what you're pursuing? You just need to be willing. And your belief will come to you. The more you develop your skill, your trade, anybody do some form of career here or craft or some skill, how many people have something that you notice when you first started, it was not that hot, right? Compared to those that were teaching you. But as you kept developing, you got better and better at your craft or your skill, regardless of what it is. Even cooking craft dinner, for God's sake. Like whatever you keep developing gets better, right? And then when you're not burning the water, which is awesome. And you develop, and that's kind of like the spiritual realm. Go ahead.
Are we now ready to let God remove from us all the things which we have admitted are objectionable?
Stop. Question mark. Are we now ready to let God, not you, God. Right? Not you. God, what? Remove from who?
Us.
All these things which we have admitted are objectionable. On that piece of paper beside you, or even in chat, what are all these things we have admitted that are objectionable? Oh, man.
You're muted, Tony.
Oh, man, that was the best part of the talk, too. That was the best part of the talk. What happened? Okay, so that was profound. Sorry you guys missed it, but next week you're going to have to listen to the talk.
Hey, you know what? That will be on the tape.
It will be on the... So on a piece of paper, did I read admitted are objectionable? Did you guys get that part?
Yes.
Okay, so what are all these things we admitted are objectionable? I know you're going to think about what you've been taught, but what does the book say are all these things that are objectionable? Write it on a piece of paper beside you, and we're going to read again. Okay, go ahead. Can he now
take them all. Take them all. Everyone.
Everyone. Take them all. Everyone. Okay, another question mark, right? Take what? Can he now, right? Can he now take them all? Everyone. What the hell are they talking about? Can he now take them all? Take. To take. If Joe was sitting here and I say, hey, Joe, can you take this for me? What would happen in that process? Joe would take it and remove it, would he not?
Yeah.
So can he now, so when you're talking about your relationship with this power, can he now take them all? Everyone.
Yep.
Right? So take what? That's another question mark, right? So write down what you think. Take what? On that piece of paper beside you, what you've been taught. Right? So, the biggest word in the book, what's that?
Amendment.
If. Biggest word in the book. If is a qualifier. If. Remember?
I thought we were talking about something else. It keeps cutting out.
Yeah. Do I keep cutting out?
Mine does.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's the connection, Joe. We're working on that. Love you, man. That's awesome. So, if is the biggest, it's a qualifier. Remember growing up, if you did this, the if was the if I see you again, right?
Yeah.
If is a big word, eh? If.
Yeah,
So here
if you don't do this, you better start running because somebody's gonna get up a butt tonight.
Somebody's gonna get hurt real bad. If
this is Italian for you better start running.
that's universal language, buddy. That's my mom's a little French woman. Anyways, moving on. If go ahead.
If we still cling to something, we will not let go. We ask God to help us be willing.
What would we be still cling? Is that still the same conversation? Is it still the same points? If we still cling to something, we will not let go. What would we be still clinging to that we would not let go? Write that on a list beside you. Are all the 3 items on those 3 questions all the same list, or are they 3 different lists?
Same.
Should be exactly the same. Now, here's the fun part.
When ready.
And then now let's see what these things are. Right? So how many people say selfish, inconsiderate, and dishonesty? How many people not getting involved? How many people have been taught selfish, inconsiderate, and dishonesty? These are the things that well, then if God's removed them, then you'd never have a problem with them again, would you?
Never.
So, remember in how it works. This is where I'm making friends and how it works. It talks about we claim spiritual
progress
rather than spiritual
perfection.
Right? The principles we have set down are guides to progress. Right? So what are the stumbling blocks in our life that has caused our defeat?
Resentments, fears, sex, conduct, harms.
So let's see if Joe's right. So let's go to page 60. Let's see what these things are. Right? Page 62. It talks about selfish, self-centered. That we think is the root of our trouble. Driven by 100 forms of fear, self-delusion, self-seeking. So 100 forms of fear is the drive, is the gas, is the nitro. That's what's driving us, right? So they talk about here. So we look at page 66. You want to hit us up? It is plain.
It is plain that a life which includes deep resentment leads only to futility and unhappiness.
So what's the problem? Deep resentment.
Yeah.
Deep resentment.
Is that not the block?
Yes.
And it qualifies it. Let's see what it says about the deep resentment.
To the precise extent that we permit these, do we squander the hours that might have been worthwhile. But with the alcoholic, whose hope is the maintenance and growth of a spiritual experience.
And what's the fifth step? We may have certain spiritual beliefs, but now we have a spiritual experience. Is this theme? What's the purpose of the fourth? Is to remove the blocks, yes or no?
Yes.
Yep.
Right? Okay, so go ahead.
This business of resentment is infinitely grave. We found that it is fatal, for when harboring such feelings, we shut ourselves off from the sunlight of the spirit. The insanity of alcohol returns, and we drink again.
And with us,
the
drink is to die.
So, what's the most important critical thing that needs to be brought into alignment? What is the abscess on our spirit? Is what's poisoning us?
Resentment.
The resentment. This is how many people did their favorite and was still hanging on to some resentments? Come on.
Yep.
Come on. Come on. How many people got family here? Come on. How many people got exes here? Come on. How many people got... I like everybody's hand. Come on. We're hanging on to that shit. But I'm feeling so spiritual.
We're tossing it.
Yeah. Let it rain. But we don't know that. You notice that when you did your fifth, you felt great, and then all of a sudden you see these people, these thoughts and ideas, and these feelings and attachments would resurface again, and then we start poisoning ourselves again. If we still cling to something, does that mean are we still clinging to something we will not let go of?
Yep.
We're still hanging on to it. There's still some deep. It's rooted in there. So we acknowledge that this thing is still there. And what does it ask us to do with that? When we acknowledge it's still there, we're still hanging on to it. It's not like we're consciously hanging on to it. It's just rooted. Remember, they talk about fear, right? It was an evil and corroding thread. The fabric of our existence was shot through with it. That's the second thing. Right? Was this fear had to be brought into conduct. And then the third thing, before we read it here, they talk about on page 70, if we're not sorry. See where it says that, Adam? Everybody see that in the middle? It says if we're not sorry.
If we are sorry?
If we're not sorry.
If we're not sorry.
If we are sorry for what we have done.
If we're not sorry.
If we are not sorry, and our conduct continues to harm others.
If our conduct, wait a minute, if our conduct continues to hurt others, our conduct.
Yeah.
Get it? So we see the resentment, we see the fear, and the conduct. These are the things that have made up our personality on an instinct base. Yes or no? Are these not all the areas that have been poisoning us and causing us all our troubles?
100%.
Is it based on a spiritual-based life that I have these problems, or a non-spiritual-based life?
Non-spiritual. Absence of power.
There we go. What does it say?
If we are not sorry, our conduct continues to harm, and our conduct continues to harm others, we are quite sure to drink.
Ooh. Boom! So the resentment is going to kill us. Our fears are going to kill us, and our conduct's going to kill us. Yep. So now, let's go. Hey, how many people having fun now?
Woo!
Woo, baby. Okay. How many people arguing a bit in their brain now?
Oh, that's, yeah.
This is clear shit now, man. We're getting real. We've lost some people, casualties, but, I mean, they'll be back. Okay, here we go. So, let's do it again. Now we got, what is these things that we discuss? Is the twist in our character, every dark cranny of the past, is the resentments, the fears in our conduct, is it not? Some of us have tried to hold on to these things that we didn't let other people, not selfish in consideration, they're vehicles of an unspiritual life, right? They're like it's like the sliver that causes the pus, right? That's what this thing is the sliver needs to be removed. The conduct needs to be removed. But I can't remove the conduct because lack of power is my dilemma. I cannot shift these things on my own. I cannot work on these things. What I need to work on will come in the next part. So I see these things, and this is where step 11 comes in. Right? When we get to the step 11, we really see how we actually continue 6 in step 11.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, go ahead. So read it again. Step 6.
Step 6. If we can answer to our satisfaction, we then look at step 6.
Look at. What are we looking at? Let's see.
We have emphasized willingness as being indispensable. Are we now ready to let God remove from us all the things which we have admitted are objectionable?
So anybody want to change that first list? How many
Anybody?
people want to change the first list? I've seen now all these things which we admitted are objectionable are what? The resentments, the fears, and our conduct. Whoa, that's a different conversation. I don't like that one. I was a little inconsiderate today or selfish. I like that. No, this shit we're still carrying from our past that's still eating our lunch today. I'm trying to move in a new direction, but I'm dragging the shit with me. It's deep rooted. It's deep within me. And I need to acknowledge that I'm still a carrier of these things. These things are still eating my lunch. I can't shake them. So what do I do with them? God, what do I do with them? Go ahead.
Can he now take them all, every one? If we still cling to something, we will not let go. We ask God to help us be willing.
And what are we hanging on to? Resentment, fear, and conduct.
All that stuff.
Hey, anybody notice when you did your fifth, you weren't that driven white as snow there? You're still kind of stuck with you? But you know what you look like now?
Yeah.
Anybody, you just felt good about all the shit you did. Anybody? Anybody a little disillusioned that you were still you at the end of year 5? Oh, look at you. Okay, go ahead.
When ready, we say something like this. My Creator, I am now willing that you should have all of me, good and bad. I pray that you now remove from me every single defective character which stands in the way of my usefulness to you and my fellows. Grant me strength as I go out from here to do your bidding. Amen. We have then completed step 7.
So that's the transition. So we see step 6 has to do with the past and the things that we're bringing forward. Step 7 is a reconfirmation of step 3. Right? When you look at it, it says, when ready. It says, so if we back up, if we still cling to something we will not let go of, we ask God to help us be willing to what? Let go of these things, not stick to the story. So where do I learn the recipe to able to have a different experience with these things I'm still hanging on to? This was the purpose of the 4th step of mastering resentment, outgrowing fear, and bringing my conduct into alignment with God's design for me, right? Through my meditation. So I have all this stuff here that I have the idea that I'm moving towards. Does that kind of make sense? So when ready, we're going to confirm here. When ready, we said something like this. My Creator, I'm now willing that you should have all of me, good and bad. You notice when people talk about step 6 and 7, they only talk about the bad stuff?
Yeah.
It says good and bad. What I'm saying here is I'm going to trust you to forge me in the design that you have for me. In other words, do you ever see a blacksmith with metal? They have this chunk that, so we're out of the fire now and we're on a blacksmith's bench and they start forging it, whatever it's going to look like, right? And that's where the forge comes. It says, I'm going to trust you here with my life from here forward. So my job is to pray for only knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. How do I do that? Is to live in the moment, to play the role He assigns. My biggest responsibility is where?
My relationship.
Yeah, but here and now.
Yeah.
To be present. Right? I can't do that if I'm in the past, can I? Thinking about it. And I can't do that if I'm working on myself. If I'm working on myself, what's absent from that scenario is my relationship. Good and bad. That means I can't trust me with my thinking, because how many people on their 4th step started off with really good motives and have to make amends for it?
Fuck.
Yeah. So it means, yeah, you know, some of my best thinking has caused me my biggest amends, eh? So that means I can't trust me. right?
Yeah.
Because I'm delusional a little. I'm blinded by me, right?
Hey,
Oh,
hey,
she was everything till I got what I wanted, and then maybe I don't care about her so much. You women could say the same thing. Don't give me that look. Don't start this bullshit now. Easy. Because I've been traumatized myself. I've been on the other end of that kind of deal. So anyways, moving on before it turns into a different kind of meeting. So
now we need more action.
well, hold on a second.
would-
Hold on a second.
Oh,
I pray that you now remove from me every single defect of character which stands in the way of my usefulness to you, my fellows. Well, you know what? What are these defects? Something that causes you to fall short of the mark. So the defect is something that I'm carrying. Right? This is my understanding. This is how I read the book. When a vehicle leaves the factory and there's a defect in the engine, it will show up later in the performance of the vehicle. Will it not? We'll see that this is how it came out of the factory, and what they'll do is send it back to the factory for the defect to be corrected. A shortcoming is something that happens in the moment. So what this is, if I have a defective tire, it's just a matter of time how it interferes with how the tire operates, if it's defective. Yes or no? A shortcoming is getting a nail in it today, causing it not to work the way it's supposed to. So there's today's challenges that cause me to fall short of the mark or fall short of the idea like how I'd like to be or life is. Does that make sense? And then there's my defects or my character that's been skewed by my experience in the past that's making decisions today. Do you notice it's two different experiences? Anybody been driven by past experiences that interfere with today's stuff?
oh yeah.
And then there's today's stuff that you're able to let go a lot easier, right? You didn't handle it right, you let it go, kind of, yeah, that didn't do right. Geez, I was tired or angry, or well, if I would have eaten, I wouldn't have been so irritable. Does that kind of make sense? Or I was a little selfish, I should have went to that meeting and helped, but I wanted to watch the hockey game. Right? That's a little different. Then I'm not going to that meeting because that asshole's at that meeting. So that defect is carried from the past to determining how you operate today. And then there's the shortcoming, falling short of the mark today. See, it's two different things. So the removal, so if you're having a defect of character, are you very useful to you or the people around you?
No.
So when you look at the wording here, we'll look at it again. Right? I pray that you now remove from me every single defect of character which stands in the way of my usefulness to you and my fellows. So if I'm full of resentment, how useful am I?
You ain't going to be useful at all.
If I'm full of fear, how useful am I?
No.
If I'm engaged in conduct looking for relief from certain aspects of self, how engaged will I be in helping other people?
You won't be.
No.
I'll be more solution-oriented, meaning I'll be looking for something that creates a relief for me, whatever that may be. Gambling, sex, fighting, arguing. There's all forms of escape that creates an endorphins within inside of me, which a lot of us get excited to. We're addicted to excitement. Nobody here, right? That's where we're on high alert all the time. We create scenarios where it creates endorphins. We're addicted to the rush, the endorphins. That's why a lot of people go skydiving, they get in risky behavior and all this shit. They start stealing shit because what they're doing is trying to create a diversion. Speed date, all that stuff, right? Stuff that causes guilt, shame, remorse, tension, and fear is the very things that we use to create a sense of ease and comfort. So we end up... Yeah, so we're doing things that we don't want to do, and we're not doing things that we want to do. Anybody like that here? That's what they're saying here. God, right? I pray you now remove from me every single defect of character, everything within my character that causes me to fall short of the idea of the life that I'm looking for. These things yesterday that are determining how I act today. Nobody in this fine crowd, right? Okay, which stands in the way of my use to you, my friend. Grant me, what's that?
Strength.
So the only thing I'm praying for is willingness to have these things removed and strength. That's it. That's the work in step 7 is praying for strength. That who removes this stuff?
God.
Treatment center shit. Nothing wrong with it, but that's their job. Is for you to work on you, because you're not going to pay them money for them to tell you that they can't help you, are you?
No.
No, you're going to pay them money that at the end of it, you'll be able to work on you and feel good about it. Look, I spent all $30,000. Yeah. I'm in so touch with me, and life's fantastic. And I'm getting another 24-hour chip. Right? So, sorry, I don't know why I went there. Grant me strength as I go from where? Here, this moment, to do what? Your bidding. Amen. The idea is complete. That God is going to take care of these things, right? And then here we go. We have then completed what?
Step 7.
We've completed step 7. What step is not completed here?
Step 6.
There we go. Isn't that interesting? So step 7 reconfirms step 3, which reconfirms that I can't fix me. So the idea is, if I pursue a spiritual solution, I'll get relief from all these things that are plaguing me. But if I go absent of a spiritual solution and I try working on myself, I concentrate on me, I will get more plagued with the things that I'm trying not to be plagued from. Anybody notice that the more you work on you, the worse everything gets?
Oh, yeah.
Right? Right? Because what are you concentrating on? You're concentrating on the problem. Who's the problem?
Hey, baby.
Being convinced any life run on self-will, self-thinking can hardly be a success. Well, what makes you say that? Your 4th step. Your 4th step tells you what you look like on a non-spiritual basis. Do you want to still continue to go down that road? Hell no. What's the only thing that will save you from yourself? Is
God.
The spiritual path, these principles, this connection of my own experience. So the more, here we go. Ready? Let's be honest here a second. When you're spiritually connected, anybody ever feel really spiritual connected? Really, you have moments of wow. How many people's had the moment of euphoric wow? Like connection, like do you notice how bright and beautiful everything is?
Oh, yeah.
You notice the mountains, you notice the sky, the birds, you notice everything's just wow? How many problems do you have when you're in that state?
None.
Now, you're not connected. Them motherfuckers on the way to work. Huh? Oh, that person swore. I can't believe it. Like, if you're spiritual, other people's conduct doesn't bother you. Like, if swearing still bothers you, you need to maybe do another 4. But I'm sorry, I'll try to refrain from that. So, pray for me, I get better. The more you pray for me, the better I get. Honest to God. Ask anybody. Joe, put your hand down. So, talk about your... So, that's what I notice. When I'm working on me, I can hardly stand myself. And if you can't stand yourself, are you going to be able to be around anybody else?
No.
So that's the key, good and bad. So God, I'm trusting you that if I pursue this relationship, that you'll give me all that I need. Where does it say that? They talked about that on page 62, at the top, 63. As we looked at this, it reiterates that idea here, that when we sincerely took such a position, all sorts of remarkable things followed. Followed what? The pursuit of the spiritual thing. Go ahead, Adam.
We had a new employer. Being all-powerful, he provided what we needed, if we kept close to him and performed his work well.
There's that biggest word again, if. Performed his work well is what? Being of service to God and the people around us. To be in the moment, to be present, to be absent of fear, resentment, and harms and conduct, to be absent of being plagued with the future and what it holds and all that, be absent of all that other stuff, and to be present in that moment of bliss that we have all experienced, that moment of where we walk through the keystone that allows us into a spiritual room within inside of ourselves. So there's the instinct-based self that we know what it looks like. We all know when self shows up. Anybody? Because when you start thinking, when self starts thinking, what's the first thing happen? Anxiety. Anybody anxiety based here? I have an anxiety disorder. No, you have a thinking disorder. Now you see, oh, I see a pattern of all my patterns, my problem, and I see what the main thread in all my problems are. You're the main thread in all your problems. Right? You're the consistent thing in every shit thing that's ever happened to you. Who's been involved in every single one of them? You. Absent of God. So we see the solution here now is the pursuit of happiness is my spiritual well-being. And that's what they talk about here. Right? Go ahead.
Established on such a footing, we became less and less interested in ourselves, our little plans and designs.
So that means we're not talking to ourselves all day. We're talking to we're applying the 4-step prayer. We're applying the 6 and 7 prayer, if you want, the reiterating of our commitment. What we're doing is reminding ourselves about step 3. We're not reminding God. Does that kind of make sense? I remind my dog every day that I'm the boss, but he knows I'm the boss. He knows he depends on me. He depends on, like when I'm not, I don't need to tell him who I am. He knows who I am, but I tell him to remind me of my responsibilities to my dog. I don't know if that kind of makes any sense. Oh, my wife does that with me too, but I mean, we'll leave that alone. So they talk about here, right, this relationship. Go ahead.
More and more we became interested in seeing what we could contribute to life. As we felt new power flow in, as we enjoyed peace of mind.
So we see that happens here is when I got access to this power that I now have the recipe for, because in the resentment, as we permit these things, so after you've done your 5, 6, and 7, you permit exactly everything you think, feel, and allow to happen in your life. You give energy and birth and creation to. Some of you did not like that idea, did you? So when you think of misery and fear, what you're praying for is for that to happen. You're spending energy on that happening. Anybody fear-based here? So now they give us new thought, new ideas, and we've completed step 7. So this week, read right through to page 88 and see everything you get on that. So read from page 76 to 88. And next week we're you think this was mind-blowing this week, wait till next week. Next week we're going to totally, it'll be like metal on metal for some of you. How many people enjoy the new ideas? A lot of people get new ideas with this stuff. Does it make sense what it's saying? Anybody ever have a bit of argument with themselves what we were reading or how we were going through? It's interesting when you just look at the book what it says, right? And it makes sense when you tie it all together. It's interlocking. It says, this makes so much more sense. And my focus is still on my relationship with a power greater than myself. It's not on me. Take me good and bad. I'm going to trust you for everything. And what I'm going to work on is this moment to see where my relationship is. So anyways, that's Joe, you got some housekeeping. I really enjoyed tonight. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of this, guys. It's really cool. Well, I get excited.
Awesome. That was pure fighter night. Thanks, Tony. And thank you to everybody who showed up. We put our 7th tradition up in the chat, the PayPal account. That pays for this meeting room for the Zoom account. The rest of it goes to GSO. We just made a contribution. Adam, what did we contribute to GSO? Thanks to our fine fellows and members.
Approximately $2,500 for the last 3 months of contributions.
Right to AA, baby. Thanks, everybody who contributed and continues to contribute. Also, we've got Big Book Study workshop sheets. You can email any one of the members of this group that put their information up in the chat. Or if you're a subscriber to the YouTube channel, it's Tony R, Vancouver. You can subscribe to the channel, go to the About section, and there's the PDF format if you want to remain anonymous and not reach out to one of us, that's fine. If you want to just do it on your own, follow that. There's playlists in that and all the, this is the sponsorship series talks. So there's a bunch of talks that we've just done. It's all sponsorship series. So it's everything that we've been going through from 1 all the way up to now, all the information that you need. And you can follow along either with your sponsor with the sheets. There's a lot of people that are phoning me lately saying that they're really engaged in the talks on the YouTube, and it's really done wonders for them. Really fabulous stuff. So other than that, again, thanks, Tony, for all your service.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Adam, Rob, all the members of the Keystone Group, Lucia, Jonathan, John. I could go on and on and on. Kenny, welcome back, brother. We love you lots. Fucking Kenny. And
we started this meeting for you, Kenny, just so you know.
We did.
We started this meeting for you. You're the reason we started this meeting.
And we'll close with, what do you want to close with?
Oh, the third step prayer. And this talk will be online. You could kind of slow it down a bit because I get carried away and I sound like it's spiritual methamphetamine. I'm not actually on methamphetamine.
Oh, wow.
Boom! Line her up. Okay, Joe, take us through it slowly. What's the main purpose, or what's the first thing that needs to happen for this to happen?
God, I offer myself to thee. Build with me and to do with me as thou wilt. Relieve me of the bondage of self, that I may better do thy will. Take away my difficulties, that victory over them may bear witness to those I would help in thy power, thy love, and thy way of life. May I do thy will always.
May the force be with you. Live long and prosperous. You guys are awesome.